After completely butchering his title shot against Islam Makhachev and turning himself into one of the most disliked fighters by the UFC, Arman Tsarukyan now seems, well, confused. Now he's agreed to a grappling match with Mateusz Gamrot, the same guy he previously turned down for an actual UFC fight. And this isn't just speculation. Arman himself admitted that the UFC offered him Gamrot, but he flat out declined, saying he wants someone ranked higher than him. The crazy part? Gamrot already owns a win over Arman, which makes his refusal even more puzzling. Instead of bouncing back strong, he's been turning down fights, making questionable choices. In a recent interview with Inside Fighting, Gamrot revealed that this time around he turned down the grappling match Tsarukyan wanted, saying their fight inside the UFC has to come first before anything else. Right now, Gamrot is sitting at number 8, while Arman is still holding on to that number 2 spot. And even though the Armenian insists on facing a bigger name like Dan Hooker or Paddy Pimblett, the UFC seems to have other plans. According to Red Corner MMA, Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker is already being lined up for UFC Qatar this November. Let's dive into Gamrot's interview.
I got offer from grappling organization, fight with Arman, and this was like the Arman say yes, and the organization waiting only for my answer. And this was funny situation for me because like a few months ago, I know UFC trial working on about my fight versus Arman, and the MMA Arman say no, but in the grappling Arman say yes, and this was like funny situation for me. But I say we deserve together fight in the UFC, and we should get the rematch in the UFC. And after this, we can grapple, we can do whatever we want.
Charles Oliveira sat down with Ariel Helwani for a new interview, and he opened up about everything from his upcoming fight with Rafael Fiziev to why the Max Holloway rematch didn't happen to the talks around his retirement. After that brutal knockout loss to Ilia Topuria, where Charles was completely out cold for the first time in his career, a lot of people thought it might be the end of the road. But Charles made it clear he's not retiring just yet. Instead, he's still chasing big name fights at lightweight, and that's where the Holloway rematch came into play. The hype was there, but Charles revealed in this interview why that matchup ultimately fell apart. Now, instead of Holloway, Oliveira is locked in to face Rafael Fiziev on October 11th, and stylistically, this is a wild one. Fiziev is one of the most dangerous strikers in the division, while Charles is known for his high-pressure stand-up and elite jiu-jitsu. One key detail that raises concerns among MMA fans is the fact that Oliveira is stepping back into the cage just a few months after being flatlined by Topuria against a real menace in Rafael Fiziev. Let's dive into the interview.
A few weeks after your fight, Max Holloway beat Dustin Poirier, and I and many others said, oh, this would be the perfect next fight, Max versus Charles, because your first fight ended inconclusively. Was there any talk of doing you versus Max next as opposed to you versus Fiziev?
I do want to fight him. I think that would be a good fight, but after he broke his hand, I think that delayed things a bit, and I wanted to get right back on it. Fiziev was available, and we're going to do that fight, but this fight with Max could come at some point.
When you're starting to see some of the guys that you fought and who fought in your era, like Dustin, call it a career, retire, does this make you think about your own longevity in the sport and how much longer you want to fight for?
I really don't even think about that. I really don't desire to retire. I think I'm doing well. I think I'm in a good phase right now. For me, I think there's still a lot to happen, a lot I can show.
After Ilia Topuria's big call-out of Terrence Crawford just a few days ago, the MMA world immediately started buzzing about the possibility of Topuria making a move to boxing. And of course, the majority of sports fans instantly agreed that a fight like that wouldn't even be close, that Crawford would absolutely run through him. But then, footage started circulating online of El Matador sparring with former boxing middleweight champion Sergio Martinez. Now, let's be real, the sparring itself was nothing crazy, light touches, nothing heavy landing, but for fans, it was enough to start saying Topuria might actually have something for Crawford. Terrence himself responded to Ilia's call-out during an interview ahead of his fight with Canelo, joking that Ilia was probably drunk when he said it. MMA fans, are you going to watch Crawford's boxing match with Canelo? Leave your comments and predictions below. Meanwhile, on the MMA side, attention is shifting to Topuria's first title defense as the UFC lightweight champion. El Matador is expected to return in early 2026, and Spanish journalist Alvaro Colmenero recently pressed him on possible opponents and a potential comeback date. Let's dive in.
Buenas, Alvaro Colmenero para MMA. Antes de empezar a preguntar a los peleadores, Ilia, tengo un par de preguntitas rápidas para ti. La primera de ellas te hemos visto hace muy poco tiempo compartiendo ya imágenes de entrenamientos de fuerza en redes sociales que habitualmente forma parte de un pre-training camp. Hay muchos aficionados españoles que se están preguntando ¿cuándo defenderá Ilia Topuria su cinturón del peso ligero?
Bueno, no tengo ni idea, la verdad. Estamos en ello, estamos en medio de la negociación de todos, ajustando el calendario del año que queda, del próximo año, así que no te puedo dar una respuesta.
Y una segunda antes de pasar a los peleadores. Ilia, ¿algún nombre que tengas en mente? Se habla de Arman Tsarukyan, de Justin Gaethje, de la posibilidad de Paddy Pimblett.
Ninguno, la verdad. De momento no tengo ninguno.
Gracias.
Just weeks out from UFC Noche, Dan Hooker has stirred the pot in the featherweight division. In a recent appearance with Sky Sport, Hooker laid out exactly why he thinks the winner of Gene Silva versus Diego Lopes should get the next crack at Alex Volkanovski's belt, and he didn't hold back on his criticism of others in the mix. Hooker flat out dismissed Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy, saying nobody cares about them, they're boring, and they don't bring the kind of excitement or attention that Silva does. According to him, Gene Silva is the one with real eyeballs on him, the one fans actually want to see. Of course, this is an interesting stance because Volk is Hooker's teammate, and Volk himself has been very clear over the years. He doesn't care about popularity, he just wants to face worthy challengers. Volk has been trying to get the Movsar fight done for months now because he believes Evloev is the most deserving contender, but Hooker is on a different page. He believes Volk deserves the absolute biggest fight possible, and in his eyes, that could be Gene Silva if Silva manages to get past Diego Lopes at UFC Noche. Let's dive in.
I feel like 100% whoever gets their hand raised in this fight will be fighting for a title because they're the most exciting guys. I hear Lopez moves the needle. I know Silva and the fighting nerds are doing an incredible job. Winner of this fight gets a title shot, and a lot of people will say, oh, there's some other guys out there. Murphy, I've been told he's too boring. Lots of love, but you know, maybe on the microphone, not as a fighter, but getting out there and selling fights and shooting and then doing that side of things. Some fighters just take a little bit more time if you don't want to say it with your chest. Moves on, Evloev or whatever. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares to see him fight. Arman Sterling, UFC hates you, my friend. I love you. I love you. Your rum is outstanding, but the big leagues, they hate you for some reason. Sorry, Cobb. The winner of this fight's getting the title shot.
That's it from MMA Psycho. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.